Today we are talking about the power of saying no. Welcome back.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Janelle. We have bonded as millennial women, as moms, wives, as coaches, and as students of life, all while finding the humor in the chaos. This is us unpacking and externally processing the ever evolving and growing baggage of life. Join us in the conversation.
Have we mentioned that we've never actually met in real life? We are connected from afar. Uh, Hello. I, okay, the power of saying no. Like, old me would have freaked out. Like, I'm just already like thinking about this. Like, old me would have freaked out. I'm excited to talk about the subject today because as a recovering people pleaser, no
Mm.
was not ever something that I said, right? Like where are you in the power of saying no?
Oh, I I'm way further ahead than I used to be. I have a lot of growing still to do, but I have seen since I've started instilling this in different ways, I've seen such growth and like just so many more opportunities that I want to be a part of. I am also a peace recovering people pleaser, but I have major FOMO. I love like I get caught up in excitement and wanting to help people and wanting to do things with people and exciting adventures. And it all sounds so fun to me until I get home and I'm like, I said too many yeses and now I like have no energy left and I'm overwhelmed and I don't want to leave my house. So I've come a long way. I've learned a lot of little tricks to kind of get
Yeah.
around some of those habits, but it's a hard one to learn. And when you feel like you're missing out, when you feel like you're going to miss opportunities or miss time with friends and family and that kind of thing. And but when you
Yeah.
kind of get to the other side, you're like, oh, this actually feels better, you know?
It totally does. It's funny because like I said, I would have never said no to people like ever. That was just not something I did. It was just always like an immediate yes. And then I took this master class one time with this group of women, and this girl was saying how, like, she had just learned that if it's not a hell yes, like almost like instantly, then it's a no. And I was like, that's so interesting. And so I started trying to like see what that felt like, when
Mm,
people would ask me to do something or whatever. And And then I realized at that moment in time, I'm like, I don't know if it's ever a hell yes. Like, like I realized how, wow, I possibly need to even like it. I mean, it just took me into a whole nother world of like, who am I hanging out with? Like, what are we doing? What is that time? And why don't I feel like a hell yes? Like it almost went from like one extreme to the other, but I
mm,
still wasn't in that place of being able to say no just yet. And now where I am today of like all of the tools that I'm sure we'll end up talking about today, it's like like for me, the FOMO's gone, the like everything's gone and I'm just like I don't care. Like I will it's so bad now that I may even tell someone yes because it's in advance and it seems great, but then that week has zonked me out and then I end up like bailing.
mm.
And like depending on what it is, obviously, like
Yeah.
if it's a big thing and I need to be there, like I totally different. But if it's something that most certainly could be postponed and I know going into it they're gonna get about 20% of me, it's like, you deserve more than that. You deserve more than 20% of me, and I deserve to be able to give you more than 20% too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like you. I've kind of played with it. It's went from one extreme to the other. And I had heard the same thing. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a F no. Um,
Yeah.
and I heard something recently. because I mean, to your point, is sometimes it's not always a hell yes, but it's like I want to do those things, or that does sound interesting to me, but does this fit in my schedule? Does this fit within my priorities? I mean, it took me a while to get
Mhm.
to that awareness, but um, a woman the other day said to me, "What if you just reframed it to it's a it's a no right now.
Mhm.
It's not a yes, it is a yes, but it's a no right now. I would love to do that. I just don't have the capacity to do that right now. Or what if we did that in like next month, or whatever your schedule looks like. It's I think I had to reframe that a little bit because it was so black and white, and I felt like
Yeah.
I was missing out on the things that I wanted
Yeah.
to be doing, or that I felt like when I was saying no to people, because I also heard the phrase that no is a complete sentence, is I
Yes.
felt like then people stopped asking me to do those things,
Mhm.
and I want them to ask me those things. So I've kind of
Yeah.
reframed it a little bit sometimes of, um, and again we'll go into some of these tools, but this, um, what I thank you so much for the invitation. I would love to do this with you, like just so they know I really appreciate them asking me.
Yeah.
But at this time, I don't have the capacity, or it doesn't, I can't fit it in. But
Mhm.
please ask me again because I would love to do this in the future. I mean, I don't say that to everyone. It's unless I
Right.
truly mean it. But that
Yeah.
that helped me, like, to kind of, uh and maybe that's me people pleasing, but I don't think it is. It's letting them know that I do appreciate and I do want to be considered in the future. Just I
Right.
and I'm just being honest with you. I can't at this moment. I can't. So that
Yeah.
that helped me a little bit of going from one extreme to the other, and then finding the middle ground a little bit.
I completely agree with that. I mean, that's something that has also like helped me be able to like transition because you do. It's like, if someone finally asks you to, go to dinner, have a girls' night, and you're like, shit, that night's not going to work. But yeah, you're like, it bridges that gap of this no, it's a hard line to just not this time.
Yeah,
Like just not this time, it's not going to work out, but please ask me. And I think that that helps us as the person saying no or needing to postpone or whatever. That helps us know that like we're being clear. We're putting it out there. Like there's no like question mark on the other person's end either. Like and again, sometimes you just are like, no, that's not going to work. And you don't care to ever say anything ever again. But when it's something, like, oh, a girls' night out, like, yeah, obviously I want to do that, but I want to make sure I'm doing it,
yeah,
one, at full capacity, and two, obviously, when I don't have anything else going on.
yeah. And for for me, how, like, one of the biggest proofs that this was actually important in our lives is, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, is COVID was a time to reflect. And
Yeah.
for Murray and I, we, started making some changes in our lives of how we wanted to live, and being more intentional with what we were putting in our lives, and not, we felt like we were getting caught up in all this rat race, and putting the kids in all the activities, and like just because we felt like we needed to. And so we had done kind of a revamp and really got clear on what our values are as a family, and what kind of life we wanted to live. And so we started making these decisions in, okay, what do we need to do in order to get there? And some of them were
Yeah.
against the grain, very much against the grain. We decided to pull the kids out of school, for 2 months, and go traveling, and just live abroad for 2 months, and just make that a priority. And we ended up doing it 2 years in a row, which was amazing. But there was a lot of things that, we normally would have said yes to, like right off the cuff, like trips with friends, or weekends with friends here and there, or going to certain activity doing activities together with friends and family. And there was a lot of no's that had to happen in order for us to
Hmm.
live, the vision that we had, which was super
Yeah.
exciting. But in the moment, when you get asked to do these things, you're like, yes, sounds so fun, but I have to say no
Yeah.
because I have this goal, or I have this we had this, So, thanks to technical difficulties, we are back. And
Yeah.
I will continue my story. Um, Going on this trip, making sacrifices, and not everyone necessarily understands in the moment because they love you and they want to spend time with you. And sometimes that makes it really hard to say no. But when you're really clear about what's important to you, then it's much easier to say no when you know what you're saying yes to.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. It's so true. And that's like for something big, but that can even be for something little. And saying yes is just it's saying yes to your morals or your values, right? Of like that activity or that thing is just like not really in alignment with who I am. And so I want to keep in alignment with who I am. So like say that one more time. So yeah, what you're saying no to, say that again.
So it's easier to say no to something when you know what you're saying yes to.
Yeah, huge. I love that. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I found one of the tricks for me, for the person who's like, wants to be in everything,
Yeah,
be a part of
yeah,
everything. What I've started doing to give myself just that little bit of space to think clearly, to make a very objective decision versus reactive decision is to create some space. And that's saying, that sounds like so much fun. Can you actually let me think about that? Can I get back to you on that?
yeah,
Just to create a space so I can go home and like the endorphins have now come down, you know,
yeah,
and I can actually think, oh, right, I actually have 10 other things that day. Maybe that's not a great idea, as much as I would love to do that. And then I can actually respond the way I need to respond. And sometimes it's going back, oh yeah, that I would love to do that. I'm super excited. That fits in my schedule.
hmm
But sometimes I need that little bit of space to kind of come down and use my logical brain and not my like knee jerk reaction of, oh yeah, of course.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's on like so many different things too, because I mean, what's coming up when you're talking about that, which is something that I've learned to do as well, because it's nice. It's like we always feel like there has to be this immediate response. Like we've created that. We've done that. That no one is expecting an immediate response, but we think that we need to say yes or no. And it's like, yeah, there is that space of like, let me get back to you. And I think about that too, even with like text messaging,
Oh,
like
100%.
you just because somebody messaged you right now does not mean you have to respond to them right now. And like if they don't like that, like that that's like their problem. Which is that's a big thing because it's nice to be able to be like, I don't have the time right now to sit and respond the way that I would like to. And I catch myself, I had to do that with business because I would always like if it was a client messaging me and I was in middle of something with my family, I would literally stop what I was doing with them because it's like, well, it's a client, right? It's money, it's my life, like it's a client. So it was like everyone just needed to know they had to stop what we were doing. And now it's like, no, no. Like, I will get back to you. Even if that's 24 hours, even if that's the next day, I just let it sit in my inbox unread and I know that it's there. And because what happens is I'll end up like fucking my booking up because I'm trying to do too many things at once while responding when I didn't need to. And like, I don't know, that's kind of where it feeds into like other things in our life, I feel like too. Like just allowing ourselves space to give a proper response to like what it is we're wanting to do.
Yeah, and it makes, as you're talking about this, it makes me think about reacting versus responding. You know, that
Yeah.
knee-jerk reaction, whether that's a great reaction of like, oh my God, that's amazing, yes, or what the, like, especially when you
Yes.
talk about text, sometimes it depends what mood I am in when you text me is how I interpret the text. If I'm
Yeah.
in a pissy mood or I'm in the middle of something else, I don't necessarily read it properly, or the reaction is not how I would choose to respond.
Hmm.
But in the moment, I'm just like, I'm fired up and I just text back all fired up and then I regret it. So creating that space of when it's actually an appropriate time to respond gives me a chance to like, oh, actually, that's not how I feel. That was my emotions in the moment and what I was dealing with over here. And
Hmm.
so creating that space, like you say, it's at a family function of, you know, so, like making sure that the people that you're with, it's important to be with them, be present with them. But
Yeah.
but also on the flip side, you're not responding to your message in whatever frame of mind, what's going on in the present either,
Yeah.
you know?
See, and like I feel like this is on subject, so hopefully it is.
Yeah.
But or not, at this point we go wherever we go. But like that's this like responding in general. So I just think about my earbuds fell out. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
We are having a day, folks.
It's a day. It's a day. Uh, but even like, okay, so say you're in middle of doing something. Say you're responding to a friend on a text message, and then someone comes in. That doesn't mean that that person coming in wanting your attention at that time is the one that should get the attention. Like this is something I've worked on as well, is like if I'm in middle of doing something, and even if it's my kids like coming in like, mom, blah 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 blah, it's like I'm in middle of doing something, I can get to you as soon as I'm finished doing this. Like allow me to do this, because otherwise I was sitting there trying to text and then looking at them and and it's like my brain's in two different places, and it's like, no, like allow yourself space to do what you're doing before you respond, or before like whatever it is. And that goes for work or family, like whatever. But I feel like that is in the same like essence of being able to say no or being able to say yes, because it's speaking on behalf of yourself of like, 1 second, let me finish doing what I'm doing, right? Like that's a saying no, not right now. I need to do this. So I feel like that's kind of in alignment with that.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about this. And I agree. I've never really thought of it that way of what you are saying no to is also, creating boundaries essentially.
Hmm.
And I would also get, especially if I would feel guilty if I was on my phone and the kids came in, especially when they were little, right? And they would come in and they'd need my attention. But then I'd find myself like super frustrated and like responding because I'm like irritated
Yeah.
with them because my mind is trying to finish this task. But now you've come in and distracted me and I'm still reeling about what I'm trying to finish so I don't forget my thought,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to help you. And like my whole body would respond. Like I could feel the irritation just go across my chest. And that's not fair to them either. That's not how I want to respond. So I like this of like, nope, just 1 minute. But I hated doing that in the beginning, I think, because I felt like I'm showing them that my phone is more important to them. But like there was times it's work, so, and
Yeah.
I think that's where boundaries, I mean, boundaries are also a form of saying no, right? Or saying yes on both
Yeah.
sides. But being clear with them that mom's working right now, I'm almost done, and then I can come to you is not being a bad parent. It's not
Hmm.
ignoring your kids. It's actually teaching them that I'm actually finishing a task here. And then when I'm done, then I can give you my 100% focus. But making sure that I think for me anyway, now that we're talking about this, is making sure that it's not any time is work time. This is,
Yeah.
it like once I'm done, then I can do this. But then once I'm done work, now it's kid time. This is not what I
Yeah.
respond to messages or um, whatever else, like calls or things like that. now is family time.
Yeah.
And then if I do, even in our down moments, if I have my phone in my hand or whatever I'm doing, I'm on social media or reading a book or whatever I'm doing on my phone, and they come in and I'm not working and it's not work time, yes, then my phone goes down and now
Hmm.
I'm with you. But during work time, it's okay to say, no, 1 minute, let me
Yeah,
finish, because it's not fair to either of you.
totally. Because you're right, because whatever comes out of your mouth when you're in middle of doing a task, it is not a response, right? Like it most
No.
certainly is a reaction. And you're right, you can feel it, you know? And like that's exactly what we need to remember when we're saying yes to people and we don't want to be there. Like we're not doing ourselves a service by going because of yes, right? Because we're going against everything in our body. Like when your body's sitting there having, you know, reactions like that, like listen to that. That's your body saying, like, this isn't right. Not right now. Like, this is not in alignment with where I want to be. Because I don't know about you, but like, what's in alignment for me is creating peace in my body always. So as soon as I start to get amped up like that, I don't want to pursue further into that like realm. I'm trying to get back into my body, settle my nervous system, and like show up how I'm wanting to show up.
So as we're talking about this, I think we've had this conversation before, but in the instances that, you know, it's, you want to say no, but you know, it's important to someone you love and you want to show up to support them. How do you reconcile that? You know, like even like, I don't want to take my kid to soccer, but it's important to him. You know, like I don't want to watch his soccer games. I hate watching soccer. Please don't ever tell him that, but I'm sure he
Yeah.
knows. Actually, he does know. But you know, those things sometimes you don't want to be there, but you know it's important to them. How do you reconcile that in your body?
I think it's an different for every situation. Like for so kid things, right? Like there's a lot of those, you know, most of them are like having to go to school hours after school, you know, having to go to a school function. Like I don't want to do that as me, but like as a mom, I would like to do that for my child. And so, you know, we will get to go to that. I think more of like, and then in as far as getting in with my body, it's like preparing for that. Preparing, like really, really coming into my body, having like a very like calming sense. So like I will purposely, you know, like walk a little slower. Like everything I do will be a little bit different if I'm going into like a huge social setting that like I know I'm going to have to be on because I'm going to go meet every other mom and dad in the world and have to try and have these like conversations. So in order for me to like keep some of my energy, I try to have the most like in body experience, like keep going in. When I step away from those, it's like having this, you know, having a big inhale, exhale, like, whew, okay, get back into my body and then like move on. I might be going all over the place. Is that what we were talking about? Like
Yeah,
how
just
I kind of like,
yeah, like because you talked about if it's not true in your body, then it's a no, right? And
yeah.
yeah, so I think as you're saying this, you talk about preparing your body, or mentally preparing, and you're right. It's not, I'm not there watching soccer. I'm there supporting my kid, cheering him
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
um, watching him do something that he really enjoys and trying really hard. Yeah, I
Hmm.
guess it's the reframe of how you, um, what are you saying yes to? What is the yes? It's not the yes to go watch soccer. It's yes, I'm here to, yeah, support you, whatever that is.
And like but like I also think that you know what that is before you're going to do it, right? Because there has been instances like with my immediate family that I most certainly have said no. like I'm not going to be there because I knew from beginning to end I was going to have to put on a show, like completely fake it. That to me was not going to be worth it. And so creating memories or doing things for my kids uh, is just, to me, it's like different. And again, not that I'm going to put myself out, but like doing those little things, it's like, no, like I can do that for my child. But in most other circumstances, like if I know I'm going to be triggered walking into a situation, um, I, I really try to, I might have to say no to that. Or if I have already had the conversation with, like, I'm about to walk into a situation that might be very triggering for me, I also give myself the pass to fucking bounce out whenever I want. Like, I do not uphold this obligation of, like, I came to the birthday, I need to wait till the candles are, blown out and everyone's eating the dessert. No, if I showed up and have tried to be there, knowing that I was going to be in a triggering situation, as soon as I start to get like that out of body experience or in that triggering, it's like, and I'm out. And I'm out. Like, I'm allowed to be out. I'm allowed to peace out whenever I want. But that's at the point of where I am now. Old me would have sat and suffered. Old me would have reacted off of that trigger. Old me would have started a fight with someone to argue to get that, reaction and to get that out of my body that way, which is not healthy. So for me, I don't want to be doing things like that. So if I'm getting in this triggering situation, I give myself full pass. And I'll even have like, I'm speaking from full experience of like with my family and being with, my husband and kids in the car. And I'm like, okay, I'm giving myself a 30-minute marker. I'm going to revisit how I'm feeling in 30 minutes. And we may leave in 30 minutes. And if not, cool. But just want everyone to know we might be leaving in 30 minutes, depending on how I feel. Because when you're trying to operate from your best self, being in a triggering situation like that is not conducive to your nervous system at all.
Yeah, interesting. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm like, yeah, I,
And sadly, I've had to do that with my family,
yeah,
more than with friends, because at this point it's like I kind of know who my friends are and other people have aren't in my life, so I'm not really having to do that much. Like if you're in my life and you're a friend, like you're good, like
yeah.
there's a reason you're there. But family, we give pass and pass and pass for poor behavior, poor situations. We allow them to treat us badly. We allow them to, just we just allow because it's our family, we're supposed to. And for me, there came a point when it was like, I I don't want to be around that. And you are my family, and I love you, and I accept you. But for me, I need to not be around that right now, you know? And as I've grown and accepted that more, now it's like, okay, like I can be around it a little bit longer. But like in the beginning, I couldn't be around it at all because any breath that went in the wrong direction, I was going to be full blown triggered, you know?
Mm. So how did you get there? Because I mean, that's a really hard no. When, especially if it's like from what you're saying, you really value family, but
Hmm.
you also value your own like um autonomy. Like you're protecting yourself and your right to be treated a certain way. So how did you get from the allowing to saying no, like, or these are my boundaries. I'm saying yes to family time, but I'm saying no to being treated this way. Like, how did you get from allowing whatever to creating kind of, it's even beyond boundaries of just like limitations, I think, of what you're
Hmm.
willing to, the amount of time, the amount of, um, the exposures. How did you get from A to B?
Well, a a ton of work. So I had never, let me just give like the story, I guess, at this point. Sorry. Um, I had never had boundaries ever. And one of I things started shifting in me where I started noticing certain behaviors from my sister. And then I hired a coach and I started learning I could have boundaries and I was like, what the heck? And so I started to like distance myself a little bit in that relationship so I could start to find my footing because I realized I was giving all my power away all the time. And so, something happened and I was just totally I was like, no, I can't do this, like arms up kind of. And so I went a year, which this is like insane. We did not, no one in my family, I've never witnessed this. I went a year without talking to her. But in that year, I went through a full grieving cycle. So this is a lot, I didn't just get from point A to point B. I went from a full grieving cycle of getting to a point of being able to accept her for exactly who she is. Because all the pain that was being caused was due to me expecting her to behave in a certain way and then me getting let down over and over and over again and having this, thinking she could be someone else and hoping she could be. And it just wasn't being presented that way. So from point A to point B, where it was like, okay, now here's, and in middle of that time, it was my mom had like her 60th birthday party, and I missed my mom's 60th birthday party because right before that, my sister did something that totally betrayed me again, and I was like, I can't. I'm not going to show up and pretend I'm okay. I'm not also going to make my mom's birthday about me. So I ended up doing something with my mom by myself, but no one in my family understood that. They were like, but it's for mom. Can't you just go? And it's like, no, because I am going to be faking it. My body is going to be in reactive mode. I am not going to be good if I go and do this. And at that point, I was having to build trust in myself that I knew what was best for me because I had always thought everyone else did, And so that was huge for me to be able to say that. And so where I got to that place was like, now I don't have these expectations for my sister to be anyone other than who she is. But I didn't just get there, it was a grieving a loss of who you needed. Uh, so it was a super big challenge, but also the best work for me because I am who I am today. And so, through like Buddhist type of teachings, like my sister would be my greatest teacher because of all of the lessons and everything I've had to learn along the way to get to a place of having boundaries, being able to say no, and being able to put my body, my nervous system, all of those things before anyone else.
Yeah, I I love that she's your biggest teacher of what you needed to learn, whether that was just in your interactions with her, but that how that reflects in everyone else who comes into your life, and just
Yeah.
makes you a stronger human being to, um, yeah, just makes you a stronger human being.
Yeah,
Uh,
because sitting back and having boundaries for someone, but hating them and being nasty, like that's not in alignment with my body, right? Like that's not in alignment with how I want to feel. Having resentment, and that's in that year's time, it was like I couldn't be around her because I was resentful. I was mad. I was angry. I was sad. I was like a full grieving. I was all of those things. And I just totally lost my train of thought.
so really, like, it was an opportunity for you to grow into who you needed to be. because as we're saying this, I'm just wondering, like, it's less about them, it's more about our interactions with them, how we show up in the relationship with them. And sometimes in order to have that relationship, we need to grow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So much acceptance. And like, oh, that's what I was going to say. Like now I'm at a place where I most certainly still have boundaries with her, but I have so much love. I have so much compassion. I see her for exactly who she is. So I see why certain behaviors are still alive. I can see her in just a totally different realm, whereas I couldn't see that before because it was more like me, poor me.
Yeah.
Like I'm sad, poor me. But I needed to heal and give myself all of that. And so when I first learned about like when I was practicing and learning about like Buddhist teachings and learned about that piece, I was like, she's not my fucking greatest teacher. There's that
But
piece of
that's
you
so
that's like,
empowering, you know?
but it is. And now I can say that from full heart of she is my biggest teacher. Do you know how many fucking things I had to learn? How uncomfortable I had to get? Like every single thing that got me to wanting to become a coach was through the process of all of this shit with her. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's like, okay, now I get it. I totally get it now.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And often I heard this saying, I'm going to get it totally wrong, but like paraphrasing here, is the people that annoy us the most tend to be a reflection of the things we don't like within ourselves. Um, and I've had to go through that as well. And we won't talk about that today, but just, it's really humbling, you know? It's like, why am I reacting? They're fine. They're fine in this. Why am I the
Yeah.
one? It's like, oh, because I don't like this piece of myself, how I'm reacting or how I'm, maybe my own limitations, my limiting beliefs or whatever it is. You said you didn't have any boundaries around it and you had to learn to grow into that so that you
Hmm.
could have a relationship with her. Oh man, totally. I
Yeah.
love this. And that's a huge no. I think a lot of people, that's the one that they struggle with most because we feel like family is everything and family, like they get passes all the time because they're in your life. They're non-negotiables. First,
Yeah.
most people, even though maybe sometimes they shouldn't be.
Yes.
But I
Yeah,
love how you
they
took
do.
that and took that as a teaching moment for yourself,
Hmm.
and an empowering moment for yourself versus just
Yeah.
holding on to that resentment.
Well, and like this is something I want to say too, because it's like sometimes we're holding on to they need to apologize to me. And in that year's worth of time, I I healed that piece of me. So there was no apology that she would have ever given me that would be any more meaningful than the healing work that I had done for myself. And so then you really are gaining all of your power because if we're waiting for someone's apology and it honestly falls flat and or it's just a bullshit apology and then they go and do it again, it's like I don't give a shit about apologies. I really don't. Like now it's like no, I need to forgive myself for the way that I was showing up in that situation. And again, that's keeping my power. That's something I can control. And I did finally, she did have an apology for me. And you know how great it was for me to just to be like, I've already forgiven you. And not like, well, it's about time, or like whatever kind of fucking remark I could have had. It was like, I've already forgiven you because it was only hurting me by not forgiving you.
Yeah. Well, and that's not to say you give her blank slate. Like to your
No.
point, you said you have boundaries, like where you're like, it might
Yeah.
be only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
and then I'm tapped out, you know?
Totally.
And it may be
Totally.
longer, but it could be just 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then there's sometimes those moments of you're just like, this is so like the pattern I have identified is so accurate that when it's happening, you're almost sitting there like, damn, yep. Like you're not in that triggered stage because you already know what to expect. And then when it's happening and your nervous system wants to be triggered, you're like, no, no, girl, we already knew this was happening. And it's like, oh yeah, we did, you know? It's like this whole like, I don't know, body experience.
But then you are saying yes to, it's the whole theory of the let them theory. Have we
Yeah,
talked about anyway, like Mel Robbins' let them theory is like, let
yeah,
them, now let me.
yeah.
I can walk away right here, or I can respond this way, or I can set this boundary, but I can still love you,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah. The biggest misconception with, I mean, this goes with what we're saying of being able to say no in order to say yes, right? Like I had to say no to that situation so I could say yes to myself of building trust within myself that I was making good decisions, that like the way my body felt and my nervous system and my triggers, all of those things were a top priority because to me that was my number one priority. Everything else was like under that, just making sure that I am showing up as the person I'm wanting to be. And if I'm sitting there being triggered, that's most certainly not going to be the case.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think we should leave it there.
Okay,
I
let's
think.
do it.
Yeah, I don't think we can top that. Like, I can't, like, yeah, that's an
Yeah.
amazing example of like a really strong saying no. Um, so, we kind of wanted to wrap this up and kind of wrap up the points that we made throughout the call. What has been some of the biggest, what would you say are the biggest points that people should take away from today?
I think that like you're number one. Like it's okay to say no to people. The right people in your life are going to understand and accept that. And if it's important to you to show up as your best self, then you have to make yourself a priority. And sometimes you end up having to say no to things that maybe you already said yes to. Like I've said at some point, right? Like, but also, like we said, allow yourself space before just giving yes or no.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get back to you. Leave space.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, what is yours?
Um, when you know what you're saying yes to or what you're trying to accomplish, it's much easier to make the no's. And the space is necessary. Um,
Hmm.
when emotions are running high, make sure you're not reacting from emotion, um, and so that you can respond the way that you actually want to respond. Um, yeah, just the biggest one for me is like know what you're saying yes to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Okay, so now we get to close with our mystery question.
Okay. I'm glad you're
Okay.
asking first.
Yeah. My mystery question is what is one of the bigger things you have said yes to and wish you would have not?
Oh God, that's a long list. Um,
Like the top one that comes to your head. Obviously, we
it's a
have
theme.
millions.
How about that? It's more of a theme of all the fun things. Yeah, just shit. Is there one that stands out? Not really. It's always in the moment. Like I want to be part of the party. You know what I mean? I want to
Yeah.
be part of the fun. And I get caught up in like, yes, like it's an immediate yes, I'm in. And then either I've double booked myself or I've um, overextended myself. And then I get home and I'm like exhausted or overwhelmed. And then I'm regretting and I'm trying to think of excuses. Um, or sometimes I get caught up in things and I'm like, I get home and I was like, that was not me. It was like fun in the moment because like, the energy is so high and I get caught up in energy
Yeah.
and then I get home and I was like, ooh, that was not a great choice.
Yeah.
That was not a well thought out choice. And
Yeah.
I do have some smaller, I mean, everything that's led me to now, I mean, I've lived those things for a reason, but there are certain things in my past that I wish I didn't say yes to in the moment and had a
Yeah.
little, should have created some space and thought, uh, yes, it was fun, but it kind of went against who I want to be and who I am. Yeah, I won't go into detail in any of those.
I have, yeah, I can, I'm sure we all do. We all have them.
Oh, yeah. Question for you. I love your question. What about you? I'm just going to turn it on you. I'm just going to use your question.
Okay, well, let's see. The first thing when I had said that question to you was me thinking about this like networking event that I agreed to go to when I was like 18, not having a freaking clue what like networking was, and then having to like go up front in front of everyone and tell everybody like what I was there for and what I do, and I just wanted to die. Wish I would have not, it didn't go anywhere. I never went to another one after that. I was like, hell no. For whatever reason, I think I was recently talking about that, so that came up. But obviously, I have many, many of saying yes to things that I most certainly did not want to do.
Yeah. I mean, they're memories.
They're memories, and the beauty of it is if you take the time to learn and understand about it,
Yeah.
you can gain your power back by that situation coming up again or something similar to it and you having a new answer this time. So there's always, learning through the reflections for sure.
Yeah, some things stick with you though, like not just in your head. Sometimes things do. It's not just your memories. Other people have memories
Hmm.
of that event. And you're like, ooh, that's not how I want to be seen. Or, that's not who I am. And that's your only memory of me. Oh, dear Lord.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, create some space.
Oh, create space,
Say yes
exactly.
when you're sober. Anyway.
Exactly. That's where I was going with it. Trust me. We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
have,
yeah.
I'm like, everyone's got those moments. We all have
Some of
them.
them I was sober. Anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole. But yes.
All the times we said yes when we should have said no. I'm just kidding.
Sometimes, okay, I have to add this. Sometimes excitement can be just as intoxicating as booze and pot or whatever drug that you're on. And
Yeah.
it can be just as easy to get wrapped up and make decisions that you regret late. I shouldn't say regret, decisions that go against who you are when you're wrapped up in such high energy.
Yeah.
It can be addicting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Anyway.
All right, friends, that's it for today. Definitely join our conversation. Add a comment or a question or whatever comes to mind, and like and subscribe to our channel so we can build our
Yes.
community.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to reiterate. Please comment. I want to hear, maybe this is a call to action. I want to hear what have been your no's that you're super proud of, or the no's that you wish you would have.
Yeah.
I would love to
All
hear
right,
that.
friends. Until next time.
Love you
Bye.
guys.